Episode 8, baby! Yay!
Hi. Why is this literally the most uncomfortable bit of recording a podcast? Is literally saying hi. Thanks for coming back.
Hola!
Thanks for being here for
Guten
episode
Tag.
8.
Dial. That's well done. No one. Hey! that's why we just move on, because...
Yeah, whatever. We're here now. That's the main thing. So, let's start the episode with the same way we start every episode, show and tell.
Excellent idea.
Excellent.
I saw a reel the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I tagged the person. Mm-hmm. And it was, the fun is in the creation, not the validation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. I think that's a good way to live.
Why did it stand out to you in particular?
Probably because of maybe because of the podcast, or because of I don't know, every single thing I've ever done as a creative person.
Yeah, I feel that.
Literally any form of doing any art is crippling to me. As in, it has to be perfect. Do you mean? Or good enough, or there has to be validation from it. So I think I find it it just stood out to me of the process is supposed to be the fun part. Yeah. And I hadn't thought about that before. It's abstract art or something. The whole point of that is the fun is in the doing, in the creating. And I find that quite I guess opposite to what I would normally do. And I like that. And it's it's not about the validation, it's not about the affirmation you get from doing something, but it's just the journey you go on, and that's fun. Yeah.
I saw something on Instagram about how it's a skill to be able to be bad at something. How
if I'm not instantly good, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm with, I know we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, but we went to a driving range and we were playing golf, and I came away from that feeling not a natural right off the bat, so not super bothered about that.
Literally.
No inclination to do it, whatever.
Or I was shall I just make this my identity and come every single day and get
literally.
Better?
I was not enough natural skill there to even bother investing, because I'd never be a champion. Literally. So what's the point?
Whereas I went and played tennis the other day and I was maybe I will go to win.
Maybe there is a future for me in tennis. But
I enjoyed it because I was good at it.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
It does.
Because
it takes away the struggle.
Yeah, and we
my life's a struggle enough.
Succeeding at things, don't we? That's satisfying. But I think especially when it comes to creativity, you only get to the point where you're good at it if you go through the being bad at it.
Was it 20,000 hours? Or was it 10,000 hours that makes you good at something?
Oh, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
A lot of time. Yeah. Is the point.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to invest in just making mistakes. And also with creativity, what is a mistake? Do you know what I mean?
Preach.
If actually it comes out... Also, this is a slightly different point, but I saw something a long time ago. Yeah. I have no idea where, but the idea that they were communicating was that you don't like your art because it looks like you did it, but that's what makes it your art. So we never like our own art because we want it to look like someone else did it, because that's what we perceive as being valuable.
Oh, that's sad.
But doesn't that make sense as well, though, that
if you did a piece of art and then you didn't know you did that piece of art and it got put up in a gallery somewhere, you'd probably walk past and think, oh, that's good. But if someone said, oh, that's yours, you'd be like, oh, that's grotesque.
Yeah. But also, we don't say you're a songwriter and you write a song and then you, a singer-songwriter, and then you record the song. It's you will always know, it will always sound like you to you. That's what makes it valuable to other people, because it's not them. Whereas to you, it's well, it sounds like me, so I don't like it.
Yeah, can't see the value in it.
Yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. Also, the whole thing of the fun is in the creation, not the validation, makes me think of gym, a gym.
Yes. Journey. Experience.
What's the word?
Process.
Adjacent. The adjacent thing in the gym is that whole argument of you need, like, you have to enjoy the process. If you're in the gym purely to get, like, as ripped as, I don't know, The Rock, then, like, you'll never get there because you'll hate the process, because every day you're not that.
That's so good.
Whereas, like, if you enjoy the process, if you like going to the gym, if you do fitness that you enjoy, you are more likely to succeed, to go on your journey and get closer to your goals, because you enjoy doing it, so you want to do it.
Yeah.
Which is so valid for, like, sustainability in fitness. You have to be doing stuff that you like.
Yeah.
Because not only does it take discipline to actually get up and do the thing, use the energy to do the thing, and it takes commitment to be, like, scheduled and all that kind of stuff. If you actually hate doing it, then, like, you're never going to do it, because there's already a couple of barriers there.
And also, like, the amount of time you have to spend doing it, so you're just going to hate, like, a quarter of your life.
Exactly.
Like, so if you want to, you know, get more active and you love team sports, that's just as bad. Like, you don't have to put yourself in a box of, I want to get better movement-wise, so I have to go to the gym and walk on a treadmill for an hour. Like, that's not... If you hate that, you go out of your mind doing that, like, go find community and something fun and, like, enjoyable. Because, it then leads to small habits creating big change.
Yeah.
Because you're enjoying that process.
Yeah.
And you want to go and see the people on the
you're
rugby
more likely
team,
to stick
football
to
team,
it.
netball and, like, whatever.
Yeah.
There's lots of sports.
And you'll be invested in the outcome. That's the other thing with fitness, is, like, you want, like, little outcomes that are easier to attain than, like, this... Because a lot of people have, like, an abstract, I want to be fit. Well, what does that actually look like?
Yeah.
Not me asking for a definition.
Crazy.
Define what that means to you.
Yeah.
What does... But it is that, like, SMART goal thing, isn't it? Of, like...
Oh, yeah.
If there's
Oh, my gosh, I haven't heard that since I was in school. That's so funny.
If there's no, like, measurable outcome that you can say... like, oh yeah, I've achieved that, then, like, you'll never reach it, so you'll always feel fed up and not have motivation to do it. So little goals along the way are helpful. But anyway, so that's my, like, gym adjacent thing that feels, like, relevant.
What's yours?
My turn. Not me. I don't know how I feel about this now because of the whole validation thing, but I've brought something that I created. It's not quite finished. But I just think it's really cute and I just wanted to show it. It's not a frog. It's for...
But did you enjoy the process?
I did really enjoy the process, and I've got a few more to make. This is a gift for someone that I know in work.
Yeah.
Because it's their birthday recently. But they don't know that, because obviously I haven't finished it and I haven't given it to them. But by the time this episode comes out, they will have it.
Yeah.
But... it's a strawberry.
It's a strawberry. It came from a strawberry bag.
I know, right? And you got strawberries on your back too.
Strawberry.
So yeah, so it's a little strawberry.
You're so...
Isn't that cute?
Talented and gifted, but also put in a lot of time and effort. Do you just annoy when people say you're talented? Does it take away, like, no, I just spent hours crafting this?
I don't know if it is annoying if people say I'm talented. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I've never really thought about it. Not gonna lie. So it's not done because I think I'm gonna do little, like, white stitches on it.
Wow.
To make it like little, like, seeds.
Yeah.
And then I think it's gonna go on a key ring. Because do you know, like, I've seen lots of things like this, or like lemons or whatever, like in the shops on like those bag charm.
Yes.
Things.
Yes.
That was kind of like the inspiration. And because it feels kind of like on trend, so it doesn't feel weird to be like, I made you a strawberry kind of thing.
Strawberry.
But that's my show and
so
tell.
Cute.
I was very satisfied.
You could have a whole little fruit salad charm bag thing.
That would be cute.
So, did you enjoy the process of doing that?
I did, yes. I sat outside in our little, like, swinging chair thing in the garden and made it. That's me crocheting. And it was fun.
That's really cute.
Yeah, it was nice.
And even if you never showed anyone, you'd still enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it very satisfying when it's, like, a small contained thing.
Yes.
Big projects take me, like, years to do because I find them, like, overly repetitive.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, that stays novel because it's probably, like, 2 hours maybe.
Yeah.
So, like, the whole time I'm like, oh, this is so fun, it's coming together kind of thing.
Oh, like, I can see it. Yeah, I can see the end product.
Yeah.
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 Lush.
And as it, like, shapes itself.
Lush.
Like...
I literally don't understand.
Look at me go!
I think you're so cool.
that's our show and tell. So this week's question is
it normal to think about masculinity and femininity in your life?
So I guess it probably makes sense to start by talking about like where this conversation actually came from.
Yes.
Because this is an episode based on just like we've had this conversation and we thought we'd bring it to the podcast. Yeah. What's your view on like how this actually came about?
Oh, interesting. Okay. I think maybe a comment was made of like, oh, because you're feminine. And I was like, excuse me? What do you mean? What do you mean you would define me as feminine? That's crazy. Please expand. And then you gave your expansion. And I was like, interesting. These are some things I've thought since childhood about myself and my leaning towards like the masculine side. And these are the traits that I have that make me consider myself more masculine. And you saying, yeah, but only when you're in your like bravado, making jokes mode. And I guess the type of partner I would want would like counterbalance that.
Yeah.
And then I could be like in my feminine energy because I've got someone who's masculine.
Yeah.
Because currently I kind of have to be both roles because I'm like quote unquote a strong independent woman.
Yeah.
And then we talked about like obviously your version of that for you of like why you might dress the way you dress or like what's been said to you that makes you think about yourself or like how you viewed other people in your life, other women and their version of femininity and being like, well, I don't fit into that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a conversation we've kind of had of what kind of not box we put ourselves in because I think it is really fluid. Like I think you can absolutely be both at the same time. You can like depending on different things, like maybe your cycle, maybe who you're around. Yeah. Like the femininity and masculinity can come out way more depending on circumstances and who you're around and all the rest of the niche things. But yeah, that's my version of it. Would yours be similar?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think a big caveat we should make right off the bat is that we are talking about like what you would assume to be stereotypical masculine traits versus feminine traits. Yeah. We're not saying that like we're not really talking about gender.
No.
More so talking about like those stereotypes of what type of characteristics fall under feminine energy versus masculine energy, if you like. I don't love the word energy, but
yes, it's very cliche, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That kind of, so we're not saying, oh, a feminine trait is to be caring, for example, so men can't be caring. Yeah. We're saying
like I know plenty of caring men.
Yeah. And that leans into like men can have feminine traits, masculine traits. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense as a caveat?
Yeah. I think we will talk about gender roles possibly.
Yeah.
Would be my expectation.
Yeah.
We probably will mention like gender roles within that. But I think what you're saying about when we say masculine, we don't mean men, and when we say feminine, we don't mean women. Like, is the caveat, isn't it?
Yes. And
So if there's any language that we use that like offends you or is like touches on some nerves, like we apologise in advance. Like we don't mean to say anything that's like out of place or confusing or like hurtful in any way. Because some people identify as neither of them things. Yeah. Or very strongly one of them things. Yeah. So if we say anything that offends or hurts, that's not our intention. Just putting that out there. But we're just kind of going to talk about like our experiences of masculine and feminine things, people, like culture, community, and how we see masculinity and femininity play out, and if we think about it or not. Yeah. Because that is the question.
So I guess we could start there. Do you think about masculinity and femininity and how it works out in your life?
Yes.
Cool.
Do you?
Yes. Are there like key ways in which, or like contexts in which you think you would think about it? Like things that would bring it up for you? Because it's quite vague, isn't it? Without like a context.
I think when I'm around the opposite sex, I would then think about like, I would think about it in that context. I would think about it in the context of like clothing, or I would think about it in the context of being in a group of people and being like, how do I fit into this? And like people just, I guess when people just say things, don't they? And like obviously never, you know, not with intent to make me think about it, but like, oh, you're really strong, or you look really strong, or like, oh, you'd be great wife material because you cook and clean, or like, oh, I'm so surprised that like you haven't got kids, you seem really like maternal, and I'd be like, or like, I guess my reactions to people's statements makes me think about, because I think people call me feminine quite a lot, and I don't feel like I identify particularly with that. I do more so now as like a woman, but like definitely like teenage years, younger years, primary school years would have really felt as a masculine energy, and actually probably most of my life, and still now, like I still feel quite masculine in a lot of ways, but I've definitely got a balance now of quite like feminine traits. What would you say?
Probably quite similar. Like probably clothes would be like quite close to the top for me, in terms of like balancing what kind of like perception or like what, it's not perception, but like I guess how I present myself, and therefore how people receive that or perceive that. I don't want to say vibe, because like I feel like I always say vibe, but that kind of idea of like what vibe do I give off?
Because I would say you quite like to give off more like masculine vibes, whereas I would want to give off more feminine vibes, but probably don't because of my character. So like I guess I don't think about it as much aesthetically wise. I think about femininity and masculinity a lot when it comes to character. Yeah. Whereas I think you probably think about it more when it comes to aesthetic. Yeah. So we're quite different in like, I guess. So do you think about masculinity and femininity in your life? Yes, I think about that from my character point of view and what I want in someone else. Whereas you would think about it more like aesthetically and maybe how people perceive you. For example, you want to be seen as strong.
Yeah. And also I guess the bigger picture behind all of that for me is about wanting to be able to control how I get perceived as a woman. Yeah. So like, because there's a whole argument, isn't there, that like I know we're talking about masculinity and femininity, but like just because I wear t-shirts and jeans most of the time or whatever doesn't make me any less of a woman. No. And just because I'm strong doesn't make me any less of a woman. Just because I like being in the gym doesn't make me any less of a woman. Yeah. All that kind of like, and I think that's what it is about for me. It's about like being able to set my own definition and my own expectations of what my femininity looks like. Yes. Yeah. Because I know we're talking about like feminine traits and stuff, which would tend to be stereotypically would be like
let's define them. Let's do
okay.
Let's do like, what do you consider masculine and what do you consider feminine? Yeah. Do you have any that pop off?
Pop off. I think for feminine, one that comes to my mind straight away is like caring. Yeah. Caring, gentle. Yeah.
Like caring, kind. I would say women in society would be like more accommodating. Yeah. More pleasing. Mm-hmm. Like they take up less space. Like that would be my like sort of wider context of what femininity looks like. Gentle, peaceful. Yeah.
Softly spoken.
Yes. Caretaker role. Yeah. So of the elderly, of babies, like whatever it is, like they're the first ones to take care of.
Yeah.
Whereas a man would be like maybe seen as taking charge of a situation or quite like super competent or super like assertive. And it's that whole thing of like, if a woman's assertive, she's called bossy.
Yeah.
Whereas if a man does the same thing, he's called assertive. So he should be a leader. So like leader, assertive, in charge, strong, protector, provider, all like masculine traits. And then woman being what I obviously listed off earlier.
And I think what's interesting is that those are, I'd probably agree with all of that. Those are very stereotyped.
Yeah.
Like roles.
Yeah.
And also they both can extend like too far. Like they both can go toxic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because when men are overly controlling, overly assertive,
domineering,
can't experience emotion, aren't in touch with any of those softer, more traditionally feminine traits, like that's when you run into like toxic masculinity. And that can lead to not just in terms of like that can make people around them unsafe, it also just means that they are not doing well. Like they're not able to be looked after or look after themselves appropriately. And then on the other end of the kind of spectrum, you've got like women who don't believe they are capable of doing anything practical, can't stand up for themselves,
so they get misused.
And feel that everything is their responsibility when it comes to those more like caring for people, can't receive care themselves, so you end up like you've got the kind of like toxic versions where they are taken too extreme either way, because most of us exist somewhere in the middle with bits of both.
Because it's really interesting that we think of masculine as men and feminine as women. Like I find that interesting in itself because everyone's got both. And I guess it would have been cool if we'd done a bit of like research before to see like, you know, where that started becoming a thing. But so I find it really interesting that men have, where does that come from? Like, I don't know, because even letters can be masculine and feminine. So do you mean like if a letter can literally be masculine and feminine in like French or whatever? Why does that, like, the letter's not a man? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it is kind of weird, isn't it?
Because I don't understand why we assume men are masculine, women are feminine. Like, I don't really get that. And I find it hard to be like, oh, I'm masculine, so therefore I'm manly. But like, that's not the case.
No.
I just have some traits that society tells me men are more likely to have, or have a more concentrated dose.
But also, some of that is just contextual, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like you said, because you're like doing stuff for yourself, living on your own, that does require you to be provider for yourself. Like those traditionally masculine traits, those roles, like you do have to fill for yourself.
Yeah, like I'm taking the bins out.
Yeah. Whereas like it might, like in the future, if you were to be in a like long-term relationship, maybe that would shift a little bit and you'd feel like that balance changing a little bit with you. Equally, like for women, if you're a woman and you've got a career and you're like living in a little bit more of maybe some of that masculine energy because you're, I don't know, like leading on a project or something where like, you know, stuff's got to get done and you're using more of a mixture of those things, but then you go on maternity leave for a year looking after your newborn, like those caring maternal things are probably going to kick in more and be at a higher percentage. So it's like just contextually throughout our life, I'm sure that those balances ebb and flow depending on what life is like demanding of you.
And also I think it depends on who you're around. So like I've got friends who I'm around, and I don't know if it's a good example or a bad example because it's a man, but like I know when I'm with him I can be fully in my feminine energy because I know he's got stuff, like he'll sort where we're going, what we're doing, and he'll plan it all, and I don't have to be in that like controller, or like I don't have to be the one in charge. And I like that I don't have to be like in charge, because it just gives me like a day off of my brain. So I can then be more attentive and caring and like I guess like a sweeter version of myself, because I don't have to be having all this background noise of where are we going, what's the map saying, how long is it going to take, because I don't, like, he's got that. So that version of me, I like being more feminine. But also I've got, like, when I'm in a group of friends and we have got like a fair bit of banter going on, like, I can be quite like assertive, domineering, quite like aggressive in my like wit or humour, because I'm all of it. I can be all of it. Like, I am the spectrum of femininity and masculinity. And like, some days are more, some days are less, and it depends who I'm around that brings out that in me. Like that, some people bring out your playfulness, some people like bring out your deep, meaningful, heartfelt side. Some people bring out your like, oh, I want to care for you, I want to be like maternal to you. Some people bring out your like, yeah, I can be a boss around you. Like, you know, like, just people bring out the different parts of you, I think, as well. And that as well, like, for your job, like what you do as a job can bring out different aspects of you. Like, absolutely. So you're right, it's like life stage, age, situation, people you're around, community, and your function in society. But it's just that pendulum swing you got to be really careful of, because if you go either way too far, you're hurting generally yourself and people around you. But that middle ground is a real sweet spot.
Once again, balance is really good.
Oh,
honestly. Every episode.
I think like something that really winds me up about masculinity and femininity is the roles that we put people in. So it's like, oh, it's feminine to stay at home and look after kids. Like, no, like, femininity and masculinity is not an outward thing. Like, just because a woman's staying at home looking after the kids does not mean she's a feminine person, does not mean she's like a maternal person. Equally, if there's like a stay-at-home dad, which I think is like beautiful, that is not saying like he's a feminine person. So just because his actions are more in line with the gender stereotype of a woman does not make him a feminine person.
He might be.
You might be. But like,
it's the assumption
again, it's that
is.
Balance. It's the assumption for me that really annoys me. People I know, the dad works 3 days and the mum works 2 days. So the dad's with the kids for the 2 days, the mum's with the kids for the 3 days, because they both care about their careers, they both enjoy their jobs. And they both want both. And he loves being with the kids. He's great at being with the kids. And he's masculine when he's with the kids. In the sense of, or he's both, in the sense of there's a really good balance of like, he loves like teaching them things and showing them things and exploring with them, and like makes great lunches for them, healthy stuff, do you know what I mean, like that sort of thing. And then equally when she's with them, she'll, you know, do like creative things with them. They'll do some like drawings, they'll do some things, so they've got a really good balance. The couple have a really good balance, they know their like roles. Internally, individually, they've got a really good balance of masculine and feminine, and then the kids see both sides of that, and they have different outworkings of like, they might do slightly different activities or something, but not really. I mean, they all go swimming, do you mean like it's the same thing? But like, for me, that's really good equilibrium of like equal energy kind of. And I don't think any different of him for like staying home with the kids. Like, it doesn't change who he is at all. It hasn't changed who he is at all, in the sense of his masculinity, like, whatsoever. He's still a very masculine man. Which, again, I'm not saying is a good thing or a bad thing, but like,
it's just, you're just saying that he still gets to be him. With
so
his own balance of masculinity and femininity, regardless of what role.
So I wouldn't like. I just really don't like it if people assume things of people from the outworking. I don't personally feel like masculine or feminine is an outworking. The career you have, or the way you design your life or decorate your life, I think of masculine and feminine as more internal. I don't like judgments. I really don't like judgments. I don't like bias, which I know we all have and we can't get away from. But I don't like the whole I don't like it that people put people in boxes.
Yeah, and I think it's that people put people in boxes and therefore assume value of the different boxes.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, something that frustrates me is, like, people looking down on, like, women staying at home, looking after kids, not seeing that as valuable as a woman having a career.
Yeah.
And seeing, like, oh, but you're a stay-at-home mum, that's not enough. You have to also have a career. Like, if you want both, great. But a woman staying at home looking after, like, raising the next generation, like, that's kind of
a big deal.
Kind of important, actually. Like, the energy and time. And not that you have to stay at home to do that, but just that thing of, like, why do we see it as, like, a cop-out? Do you know what I mean? Why is that not valued as one of the most important things in our society? It's because it doesn't make money, that's why. But that's so backwards, because the way that the next generation is taught to behave, taught what's appropriate, taught what's normal, taught what, do you know what I mean? Like, taught how to literally taught how to act, taught how to interact with people, taught how to care for people, blah blah blah. That's so crucial for like the state of our literal world. Yeah. So why do we, and what annoys me more is that, like, because that's, I feel like in my perception that's how society presents it, I find myself, do you know, like, when you find yourself thinking those things? Yes. And then being like, wait, no, I don't agree with that. Yeah. I don't agree. Like, because why do I have to convince myself that it's an important role?
Yeah. You know that couple I was talking about? She was like, I'm going back to work, or something. Like, so we were having a conversation about it. And I was like, oh, but he really likes his job. Because in my head, like, the assumption is she would have stayed, and that's the thing, is it? Assumptions. Yeah. Assumptions is she would have, like, worked, she would have, like, looked after the children, and she was like, but I also really like my job, and I was like, ooh, yeah. I fully just fell into the whole, like, assuming roles. Yeah. And she was like, why is him liking his job more important than me liking my job and wanting to have adult contact every week? Yeah. And I was like, I see a point. Let me bring my neck in.
Let me mental note of that one. Yes, okay. Let me reflect on that. I'll do
none of our business
later, and I'll come back to you.
Literally. And I was like, that's so, like, even as someone who I view, like, both genders as quite equal, like, I'm quite, I'm a feminist, but not the extreme way. I'm a feminist, but I'm very pro man. Like, yeah. I think men's mental health is, like, one of the most important topics we could even, like, it's for me, like, I think about men a lot in the sense of their struggles and, like, what they're going through. Like, I'm very, do you mean, like, I'm quite balanced when it comes to, like, equality on both sides. And I was like, wow, even as someone who's, like, my assumption is still, like, why should she have to fight for what he gets freely? Yeah. Like, because again, it's that thing of, if a man's at a work dinner, no one's like, oh, so who's looking after the kids then? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if, like, she's out and about, it's like, oh, who's looking after the kids? Do you mean? It's that kind of thing, isn't it? It's that kind of, like, assumption that, so if I was in a partnership, I would be in a partnership with a man who's probably a feminist, to be fair. Yeah. But, like, I would still probably have to justify myself and be like, no, I want equal 50-50. Like, I want you to raise these children as well. Yeah. Like, these are your children. Yeah. Men who say I'm babysitting the kids tonight.
No, you're not.
They're your offspring.
You're literally their dad.
No. You're not like a teenage girl getting paid for babysitting duties. It riles me. But yeah, I can't remember my point now. But yeah, the roles that we get put into and then have to fight for to get out of. Yeah.
And it's so, like, it's so interesting, isn't it? How we are consistently defining things, categorizing things, and then putting value on it. Like, that seems to be like the through line in this, is that, like, okay, how about we define it that way, put it in that box is less valuable than this box. And like, that like it makes sense, because we're trying to make sense of the world by like understanding where, and that's why we put people in boxes. Yeah, because we want to know, like, okay, where do I align in this hierarchy, and what's my experience in comparison to those other person's experience, and who am I in relation to you, and whatever. But like, isn't that interesting that is what we're doing? We're trying to understand the world, and yet we like box ourselves into a little corner where we're then like, oh wait, actually, what was designed to be a useful help me understand the world type tool turns into, now you're not allowed to step outside of your given box, and actually turns like oppressive. I think my point in saying that is like, it's helpful to recognise what the root of it is. The root of it is that I'm just trying to understand the world. I'm not like inherently a bad person for putting people in categories. That's how we understand each other. It's when those categories become so rigid that it's not okay to cross lines, and it's not okay to change boxes, or to have a box that's unique to you, or whatever. Because even in all this, we're talking, again, very stereotypically, very traditionally. Obviously, there's loads of people, that's because that's our experience and that's our perception. But there's loads of people that wouldn't even sit within that structure of like traditional, and wouldn't even assign value to that or perceive the world through that. And then that opens up a whole wider conversation that's like completely outside of my experience personally. But like, it's all, everything's a construct, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but it's true.
And again, that's us trying to make sense of the world.
And I think a lot of our generation is probably trying to deconstruct a few of them things. So people, you know, deconstructing gender roles, you know, fluidity is much more common these days when it comes to gender or sexuality, or how people experience them and express them things. So I think like we are part of that. Actually, I'm not super keen on the world that's being created and the constructs that are in place. I'm not that keen on them. Why does everything have to be so rigid? I'm probably more of like a fluid, like, it's all a spectrum. But for everything, like sexuality, neurodiversity, gender, roles, do you know what I mean? Whatever, like, I would probably be much more fluid with it all, because I do think a lot of it is just what we've created. Like, back in the day, we love a back in the day, don't we? But like, it takes a village to raise a child. Was like, whether that, I don't know whether that's cavemen or tribes or whatever it may be, like, it takes a village. And like, that's so true. We're not supposed to parent in isolation. Because actually that's probably quite like an unsafe place to parent from. And it takes a tribe is really beautiful, because there's so many different people in that tribe. We had that conversation the other day, didn't we, about feeling like weird or different, if maybe, say for example, you're someone who like stays awake really, like, you're like a night owl, for example, and like you were saying how actually back in the day that would have been really helpful for the village, because that would have been the person on watch. So like in the night they would have been awake through the night to keep the village safe, be on watch, whereas someone else would be creative because they had to learn how to like make vases out of clay or something, so that creativity played out really well for their development of utensils or whatever. And another person would be really like mathematical because they had to trade carrots for parsley. I don't know, that's a really bad trade-off.
It's like community resources, isn't
it? Which is, and everyone in that community would have a different balance of masculine and feminine traits, which is beautiful, like, which is wonderful for a child, like an environment for a child to thrive in. I don't know why I suddenly got onto parenting, but everyone's made different, and that's really beautiful. But in the same way, we're all kind of the same as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've all got both.
Yeah.
But we've just got different levels of it, maybe.
Yeah.
And also, them levels change. Like, mine changes probably depending on who I'm around.
Yeah.
So if I'm, like I've said earlier, you know, I've already talked about it, but, like, if I'm around a really feminine woman, I tend to become quite masculine in my sort of, like, character traits or whatever. I don't know, that's probably just a me thing. I don't know if that's just, like, a me thing. Yeah. Is it normal? Yeah. But, like, yeah, I guess it's adaptable as well, isn't it? Yeah. And neither's good or bad. Yeah. Like, I think that's the point. Yeah. Whatever gender you are as well, neither's good or bad in that gender. Yeah. It's just how you use it.
And I think this is where the stereotypes are... So like we've said that there were like stereotypes of gender roles and what masculinity and femininity looks like. And then there's been like this process of deconstructing that. And people maybe being a little bit more open to acknowledging I have masculine and feminine traits and the men around me have masculine and feminine traits. But the only reason why we call them masculine and feminine is because of that construct in the first place. But it's how we understand those two things that kind of merge and balance themselves out. I think the thing that we have to remember is that in this new, like, we've deconstructed that a little bit, we're a bit more like open to balance and stuff like that. We still live in a construct. It's impossible for us to live outside of a construct. So that is our new construct. The fact that it's a bit more fluid is itself a way of perceiving the world. And on top of that, because we now assign value differently, the trap is that then we perceive the traditional role as unacceptable. So if a woman is motherly and does want a family and does want to look after their kids and does want to, I'm talking quite traditional stereotype role now, but like if that's what they want from their life, that is okay. Yeah. Just because it's the tradition doesn't make it not an expression of who they are.
You said it in the Scared of Growing Old episode. You said something along the lines of going against the trends or like going against the grain is okay, and it doesn't inherently make going with the trends or the grain wrong. Yeah. So like both is okay. You can go against and you can go with.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're literally just subverting the very structure that we're in. Yeah. It's about being the one that stands out for doing something different. That doesn't mean doing what's normal isn't okay. Yeah.
So then, like, because obviously you gave the example of, like, wanting to be a mother and stay at home and look after the children and have that kind of, like, cottagecore vibe. Yeah. People then feel shamed for so, like, obviously back in the day. Yes. Sorry, back in the day. I don't know, the 20s or the 60s or whatever, like... that was the norm. Yeah. That was the expected. So people did that. Yeah. But they then wanted what they couldn't have. So they wanted a career, whatever. Yeah. So then now people can have a career, but they want to be at home. Like, I feel like personally there's been a shift of people being like, I wish I could just stay at home with my kids. Yeah. Because obviously these days that's not always an option. Yeah. Because... like, logistically, financially, that's not an option these days. Yeah. So people have to work. So I, like, know loads of women who'd love to stay at home and just look after their kids all day. Yeah. But they can't because of, well, there's a cost of living crisis if you didn't know. Yeah. But it's almost like, one, you always want what you can't have, I guess. And two, it's like you're then shamed for wanting things that we're seen as normal. So you're then shamed for being like, oh, what, you just want to stay home with the kids? Yeah. That's boring, or that's basic, or like, why don't you want to be a career-driven woman, or whatever. Yeah. But if you're a career-driven woman, it's like, why are you at home with the kids? Like, I can't believe you don't want to spend time with your children. Yeah. Like, you know.
We can never win.
I think it's like, you can have it all, but just not at the same time. Yeah. Because you're then giving like 20% to every area, not like 100 or 50 to 1. So it's just really hard, I think, isn't it? Which is why I guess we have to not really care about what people think about us and just do what we want.
Yeah, and give other people the same space that they need to not care what we think and just do what they want.
we're such a pendulum swing society. Literally. Which, like, yeah, women should have rights and should be able to do the same things if they want to as men. And then suddenly it's like, wow, we should hate men. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
There's some grey. There's some grey in between here. Do you mean? Like, the patriarchy has not served men well either.
Yeah.
Like, they have also been oppressed in different ways.
Yeah.
Like, let's just have a bit of, like, there's some grey here. It doesn't have to be, like, oh, because women matter, now men don't.
Yeah.
That's not what anyone's, like, no one's saying that. And the people who are saying that, I've got a problem with. Do you know what I mean? Don't come for me. Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be... Why can't we just sit in the middle sometimes? Do you know what I mean?
Why can't we all just get along?
Literally, why can't we all just be nice to each other and understand each other?
And I think also there is a little bit of a thing in our... I sometimes I stop myself because I'm like, I'm generalising so much.
But it's the easiest way to do it. Like, don't beat yourself up. This still all comes from our individual perceptions. I know. I feel like we sound really, like, basic and, like, limited sometimes with our, like, worldview.
But also, like, that is our worldview because we are individuals that only have one experience of the world. So of course it's limited.
Yeah. But I'm like, we can't mention every single person's perspective on everything. Like, we can't.
Also, why is it our right to speak on behalf of those people? Like,
they should start their own podcast.
They can speak for themselves.
They probably have their own podcast.
They probably do.
Yeah, probably do. So I wish that we could talk about everyone's perspectives and how everyone views this. Yeah. But we can't. And the only way we can is if you comment or email us with your perceptions and your ideas, and then we can talk about it. So yeah, we just don't. We're not trying to be exclusive. We're not trying to be exclusive. Like, we're not trying to exclude people's experiences. But we are talking from our own experiences. Yeah. Because that's all we can do. Yeah. Because that's what we know.
Yeah. And again, just because other people have different experiences doesn't make... And because ours is maybe falls more within that structure, does not make our experience any less legitimate. Yeah. Yeah. It's still an experience that's...
Like, I've still struggled my whole life with how I view myself as, like, more masculine. Yeah. And I didn't want to. So I think, in summary... Pay attention to the caveats.
Yeah, please.
Because we really mean them.
Yeah.
And we have used very gender role specific things. Yeah. And very labelled specific things. And, like, probably quite extreme examples. Yeah. Because that's just easier to talk about. We can't talk about every single niche thing that we would want to. Or every niche situation that we would want to. So we have talked about it in a very, like, not a nuanced way. Yeah. Because... we've got a time limit.
And we have limited experience.
Yeah, and also, like, it's easier to use extreme examples because the message gets across a bit quicker or a bit easier. Yeah. But having said that, like, so my, like, takeaway would be that we've all got different characteristics of masculine and feminine energy within us, and the way that plays out depends on who we're around, what circumstances are going on, what our priorities are, what we've been through, our lived experiences, the environments we grew up in. All of that kind of interplays with each other and intertwines to then give us a presentation, or to then give us what we present to the world. Yeah. And that I would like to live in a world where we don't judge people based on the outworkings of what we view as masculine or feminine. Yeah. But that I would like everyone just to be in the middle. Yeah. Just to have a healthy balance of both. Yeah. Because it can go toxic either way. And I think just taking care of yourself in that, and how you view that, and how you speak to yourself about that. Yeah. And, like, not that you necessarily have to do anything about that, but just that it's being like, oh, I notice I maybe lean more to this way or to that way, and I don't have to change my identity based on that. Like, that's okay. Like, just because I'm a bit masculine doesn't mean I then have to present as a, like, mask woman. I can still, you know, and this is, again, going to sound really cliche, but, like, put bows in my hair and wear frills and whatever, and be fairly masculine. Like, I can be both. I can be everything.
And
like,
also,
I don't have to choose.
Yeah. But you can choose if you want.
Yeah. Again, big topic, little time.
And I think with this topic in particular, with all of our episodes, but particularly with this episode, I feel like the idea of this episode is that it starts conversations.
Yes.
That it makes you think and it starts conversations. Yes. We are not pretending to have all the answers or to know the ins and outs of all of these things, because we absolutely do not. We're literally just chatting about it. Like we're thinking out loud. Thinking out loud.
Ooh, beautiful.
But so like if this does resonate with you, absolutely like think about it. Like you're saying, where do you recognise those different traits in you? Where do you recognise those different traits in the people that you love? Is there anything about that you particularly like? Is that interesting? Like, it doesn't have to be this like really heavy thing. And absolutely, like if this starts some conversations, amazing, love that.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal here.
Yeah.
We're not pretending to have all the answers. I feel like we should maybe say that more.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
The idea is that we're just trying to start the conversation, because these things can be difficult to talk about.
And also just letting you know, like, you're not alone in the trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still figuring out my masculine, feminine energy vibes, absolutely. Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I haven't got that figured out.
Yeah.
I don't know what suits me best. I don't know how I want to present myself necessarily. Like,
yeah.
So you're not alone in the thinking about masculinity and femininity.
Yeah.
And you're normal, because no one is.
Yeah.
Literally. And that's kind of how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think about it. Like, if you do have good conversations about it or interesting conversations about it, like, let us know. So you can email us at theisitnormalpodcast@gmail.com. You can DM us or post on our stories or our reels, whatever, on Instagram and TikTok at the Is It Normal Podcast. And you can like follow along on YouTube as well. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. If you have any thoughts for future episodes that you'd like us to talk about, any Is It Normal scenarios questions, they can be like episode ones or like little ones or like whatever. Let us know. Again, you can email us, you can DM us on all those social things that you've just said. Yeah. Make sure you let us know if you want to be anonymous, so we know not to mention who you are. If you want a shout out, let us know. We'll do that.
Fill out the polls.
Yeah, and fill out the polls on Spotify. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks,
we
guys.
love it that you're here. Bye.